the everlasting infinite music machine, exploring the weird and wonderful latent space. Okay, our brief time together. So, this will not be a talk where I'm being overly prescriptive. I will not instruct you on how to prompt to achieve a certain effect. I largely don't believe in that. I believe that you should type whatever your heart tells you to type into that prompt, and whatever you type at that moment is the right prompt for you. What meaning is denoted by the prompt is what prompt most moves your heart. So if you type in, atonal, off-tempo, Iranian glam rock, and you find a song that moves your heart, that's what that prompt means. That prompt might mean something completely different to someone else. I'm unconcerned with reproducibility of prompts. I want to change my prompt every single time. I want to write music in genres that are all over the map. So I can't tell you how to achieve a certain sound. But what I can do is I can give you some interesting ideas that might influence how you want to create music using these generative AI tools. I hope from this discussion you will see some new approaches and get some ideas, and you might experiment with them. You might see things I do that you think are stupid, and you're more than welcome to not do those things. You could even come and tell me that you think they're dumb. I don't care. Let's take a look at the first thing I hesitate to say I'm most famous for, but it's this idea of vocal hallucinations. And it is the process of forcing models into singing nonsense for the purposes of surfacing vocal melodies. So if you've been in the AI space for any amount of time, you've probably gone to something like a ChatGPT or like an Olama loading open source models, and you might have found that when you interact with these models, you get back untruths or invented information, and that's a so-called hallucination of an LLM model. With audio models, these kind of hallucinations manifest themselves through singing things that you didn't tell it to sing, or singing something you told it to sing but singing it more times, or something you told it to sing and it's surfacing in different parts of the song. How I've interpreted vocal hallucinations is the same way I would play the guitar and I would sort of hum and then gradually start to sing words and nonsense words along with my playing until I eventually settle on what are the words to this song. And so what vocal hallucinations allow you to do is force the model to basically do this humming and singing along with words and non-words. And then as you hear the model producing these sounds and songs with word, non-word vocals, what I like to do is I then like to sing along to it myself with the real words, and then those become the words of the song. And the reason why I think this is so powerful is the models will naturally want to gravitate towards a certain melody of vocals. And if you try to go in and you put your lyrics in first, click generate, and then get something out, yes, the model will definitely sing what you told it to sing, but that might not be the best song for those lyrics. Wouldn't it be better for you to find a vocal melody, which includes both the melody of the vocals, but also the cadence of the singing? And so by using this hallucination approach, you can do that. And I just find it leads to lyrics that feel less stiff to me than if I had not done that. And now I will play you an example of vocal hallucinations. So what this clip is going to show you is what the hallucinations look like, the special characters, and then it will show you the replacement where I put the actual lyrics in. And so what you'll hear is these kind of non-English singing, or like sort of English, sort of not. And then when you hear the replacement, you'll see that it follows the same sort of cadence and same sort of melody. So I knew what I was when I put those lyrics in, I was trying to match the cadence that the model wanted to use. And again, I feel that leads to more fluid lyrics. So let's just hear an example of that.
wanna believe this? I can do all man if it's treated. A red barn in Sweden sits in the middle of a green field, home to the saddest girl I know. All this means is you didn't care at all. A father's hand to dance, and now I guess I'll laugh it off.
Ad-libs. In singing, ad-libs are spontaneous vocal flourishes, riffs, or spoken phrases that a performer adds beyond the written lyrics to enhance expression. So, another kind of criticism I have of songwriting on these platforms is, in addition to it being kind of stiff from a cadence standpoint, I find it being stiff from a joy standpoint. So, if you unless you're listening to music at a funeral, performers are excited to be there. They're excited to sing. They're going to like hoot and holler. They're going to laugh. They're going to breathe. They're going to talk to each other. And this imbues your songs with more humanity than if you were to just have them sing the lyrics. So think of the lyrics not as literally a like a word processor. Almost think of it like you've witnessed a live performance and you're writing down every single thing you heard, not just the singing, but like the grunts, the any onomatopoeia the singers are using. When I think of jazz, they might say, take it away, Georgie, and then Georgie's gonna rip on the piano. So adding those sorts of small flourishes, I find, makes your songs come alive. And I would encourage everyone to try to add joy to your songs, even if it's a sad song. Joy doesn't have to mean necessarily happiness. It just has to mean a sense of life. So here's some ad-libs.
See you in
So you might have noticed in that example, as sort of like a special effect in a way, that when the band leader told that guy to quiet down, the vocals there actually went down. Now that's a happy accident, but if you're listening to that song, you don't know that. It sounds like it's a cause and effect. So again, it sounds like this is a real performance happening. Okay, so another way you can bring life to your songs is through the use of accents. So accents give your singer a place in a story that transcends the song itself. So I noticed that a lot of songs that are written in English will just sound like some guy or gal in English. But if you want to sing a love song about from the position of someone that immigrated to America from Cuba, and they're singing about the love of their life they left back in Havana, you want that singer not to sound like he's from Idaho. You want that guy to sound like he's been through some shit and he's from Cuba and he's like struggling with English. And even though he's struggling with English, you can hear in his heart that he loves this woman that he left behind. And so the way to achieve this is to take your songs that you've written in English and then have them rewritten phonetically. And so the easiest way to do this is, again, have your song and it's written in English. Go to any of these LLM models and just say, rewrite this song as though it were sung by someone from somewhere that speaks in broken English. So it might be sing this song as though the person is from Russia and they're singing with a heavy Russian accent in English. Write it phonetically, and the models will spit out these lyrics that have been transformed phonetically. Another thing I've experimented with is the International Phonetic Alphabet, which is IPA. The only song I've done with this is a song where I imagined Michael Jackson had been arrested by the East German police, and he was being held for questioning. And since Suno does not want you to use actual Michael Jackson's voice, I thought, well, what if I use the ad-libs that Michael Jackson does, but I write them phonetically and just see what that sounds like, and I'll show you an example of that. So again, it's this additional layer of storytelling strictly by using accents. Another technique you can use that's sort of similar to ad-libs, but it's abstract vocalizations. So it's the use of non-words to add complexity and sonic interest to your work. So by non-words, I mean sticking to purely consonants or purely vowels, and mixing and matching. And so I've used this idea of what I call a phonetic drum machine, which is finding harsh tones in other languages such as Hebrew, Arabic, Russian, and constructing consonant-only sounds that sounds similar to, like, you know, your bass drum, your snare drum, your cymbal. If you wanted to go with smoother sounds, you might use Italian or Japanese or some Scandinavian language to kind of create these kind of smooth vocal sounds. And so again, these aren't the lyrics, but these are sort of the background vocalizations between the lyrics that can just add what I find to be a very nice sort of vocal canvas.
Sometimes I regret everything I ever did or ever said. Should I even think about it? I believe in you.
Sound collage. So sound collage is the layering of organic sounds on top of AI output to create a sense of depth. So you can, of course, use these models to generate sort of interesting sound effects, but it is quite difficult to achieve that reliably and also in a very controlled manner in your songs. So do not be afraid to write a song and export that and then add these layers of ambient sounds. And when I mean ambient sounds, I mean like cityscapes. So you've written this gritty song about the city. Maybe you want to have some sounds of traffic in the background, or construction, or in this example I'm going to show, I wanted to write a number of songs that evoke the feeling of being by the water, because I live by the water in Boston, and being by the water is very important to me. And so I created a number of songs that were purely instrumental, and then I took my little field recorder and I just walked along the streets of Boston, down by the water, recording, kids playing and screaming, and boats and foghorns and seagulls and the waves crashing, and cars passing by, and garage doors opening and closing, and that sort of stuff. And then I fed it in on top of the standard instrumentation of classical instruments and other strange sounds. And I find that leads to more interesting music, because you can much more easily control these layers of organic sounds through the DAW versus trying to prompt for them. And so I'm going to show you an example of one song that uses this technique. So again, it just adds a bit of interest and depth to the song. Okay, model oscillation. This is the process of moving audio between different models for the purposes of improving some quality about that audio. So if you are familiar with 3.5 or certainly version 4.0 of Suno, there were some, let's just call them distracting artifacts in those. And while Suno did release fixes and the ability to do remastering of those audio, what I found, and what many other people found, was that it would tweak the song just enough to remove a certain degree of specialness from that song. And so if you're looking to clean up old audio or staticky audio from Suno, one great way to do that is to then move that over into Refusion and just do say like a 0% or sub 20% cover of that song. And what I find that Refusion is able to do is it's able to remove the artifacts without altering the fundamental character of your song. You might also do model oscillation if one model offers different or better features than another. Like I tend to prefer the melodies that I get out of Suno, but if I'm looking to do replacements or corrections to vocals, I will absolutely go over to Refusion. I find that their replacement functionality is best in class. You also shouldn't just do a single pass. So you might go from Suno to Refusion, back into Suno, or Refusion to Suno to back to Refusion. What you want to be loyal to is you always want to be loyal to your art and your music. You don't want to be loyal to a particular brand. Brands are great, but at the end of the day, the brand doesn't really care about you, the person, right? So what you want to do is you want to honor your art and your music. And so to honor your art and your music, you should seek out any methods to improve your art and music. And model oscillation affords you one such option. So let's take an example. Let's listen to some examples of model oscillation. another side benefit to model oscillation is just time with creation. So what I mean by that is you might have finished a song and then you're like, this is the best it can be. But maybe if you took just a bit more and you tried moving it over to Refusion and you heard it in a slightly different way, or you moved it from Refusion over to Suno and you heard it in a slightly different way, you might come to realize that, oh, the version of the song I did after I moved it to another platform is actually slightly better. Or when you do that moving around, you might listen to the song again and think, well, maybe these lyrics aren't exactly what I want them to be. So let me tweak them a little bit. So I find that it gives you a bit of breathing space and time with the song to make it better. Okay, so melodic expansion. This is the process of taking a short snippet of audio and expanding upon it to create a longer piece of audio. This is kind of self-explanatory, and you might think of this as just being like, oh, isn't this just extensions on these platforms? And I think of it somewhat differently. I think of this as it applies to local models. So with a local model, the benefit there is, unlike on these commercial platforms where there's a cost associated with generating every single clip you do, with a local model, the only cost is the electricity bill that you're going to have to pay for using it. So what I've done, unfortunately not as often as I'd like, but using a very low step count, you can generate a ton of tiny little 10-second clips to find the best melodies to work with. And they don't sound as full fidelity as these commercial models. Obviously, they haven't had millions and millions of dollars poured into them. But you can still find really beautiful melodies. And then you can take these very short snippets of melodies, feed these into the models, and expand upon them and find a longer and more perfect and more beautiful melody. And so let me give you an example of using a step locally and then through the process of model oscillation, changing the qualities and like sweetening the sound over time. So let's hear that. So that's a very small clip. Beauty in chaos. And so I think this is the last one, and I think it's important to end on. Audio models are trained to produce beautiful music, make that as hard as possible for them to achieve novel sounds. I'm a son of a bitch, and I like to give computers a hard time. So as hard as I have tried, I've yet to make one of these audio models cry. So what I would encourage you to do is to try to throw as much trash as you possibly can at these models, because that will force the models to be, quote unquote, more creative with what they're given. So you might find yourself feeding in vocals along with police sirens. You might record your guitar and just chop it up into a billion pieces and slow down sound and pitch up other parts of it and feed it in. You might take 5 different songs you've written and in a multi-track put each track as a completely different song, pan them all which ways, and then upload this monstrosity to any one of these models and say, hey, fuck you, figure out how to make this beautiful. And I can assure you that the models will find music in the madness. And to me, that is the most beautiful part of AI music, is the ability of models to find the beauty where you as the human aren't able to see it at first. And you can find some just truly wonderful sounds this way. And so let's listen to some examples of just chaos. And now it is time for us to say goodbye. But it does not have to be forever. If you found this discussion to be at all interesting, or you have any additional questions, or you want to just send me hate mail, why not? You can get in touch with me at alex.ayers@discrot.com. If you are looking to stalk me in any other way, you can go to my personal site, which is at alexayers.com, which will link off to the Discrot community, my LinkedIn, my GitHub, YouTube, my music, etc. You're more than welcome to explore the wonderful and weird world of Alex Ayers at any time you'd like, in any which way you'd like. I would just prefer you not send any photographs of you enjoying these in any sort of unscrupulous ways. So, thank you for coming to my video, and I hope you learned something.